Hello.
Hi.
So, I grew up in a small village in Lincolnshire. I had a very happy family, a middle-class family. When I was 4 years old, I was sat in my living room by the fireplace, and my parents came in, and they told me Daddy was leaving, and they weren't going to be together anymore. What I didn't know was that my daddy was whisking another woman off to Paris and sending her some lingerie while my mum was at home looking after me. So that happened, and my dad moved in with a gold tooth hoochie mama. And it was great at first. You know, I used to get to stay up late and they would dress me like a little hoochie mama. I loved it. You know, we got my ears pierced, that pissed my mum off, and yeah, it was lovely. But that didn't last long. The honeymoon period was over, and I would wake up during the night to screaming, plant pots being thrown everywhere, glass all over the house. My dad was choking this woman, and this woman was choking my dad, physically. So that happened, and then my mum got a boyfriend. I didn't like him, as you wouldn't as a child. Years passed, and she got another boyfriend. I really didn't like him. The relationship was toxic. They drank a lot together. I witnessed a lot of sex and a lot of alcohol. In turn, I was 8 years old at this point. I was stealing my mum's cigarettes and smoking, and I was humping boys. It was ridiculous. I came home from school one day, got off the bus stop, and my mum wasn't there. Now, this was the first time this happened. I was wondering, what's going on? So I walked home, tried to open my door. It was locked. I went round to the window, and my mum, she was passed out cold on the sofa. So I went round my friend's house, and eventually I was collected. Things got very, very bad. I would wake up to police in the night. I was pretty much neglected. I was very on my own. I was an only child, as far as I knew at this point anyway. So I didn't really have anyone. I used to pray a lot, for my father mainly. I used to have to go and do my own food shopping. My mum would take me. I would choose my meals, and I'd have to cook microwave meals every night for myself. It got really bad. Now, when I was 9 years old, my parents sat me down, and after years of pleading for a sibling, they thought it would be a great time to tell me I had 2 sisters. I went, what? What's going on? So yeah, that happened. I met one sister the following week. She was 2 years older than me. We were around my dad's house. My dad didn't pay a lot of attention to us because he hadn't had a relationship with my 2 sisters. He wasn't very good at showing emotions or love or supporting. He was just there. And so we were up in my room, and she pulled 2 cigarettes out of her knickers. I said, no, I'm all right, thanks, I've quit. Yeah, we are family. So yeah, that happened. I saw her once or twice maybe after that. And then my father told me he'd found a new lover and he was off to America to live. So I didn't see my sisters after that because I couldn't. I had no way. I was 9 years old. So my dad moved to America. It got progressively worse with my mum. I would have to have family members, pissed off ones at that, picking me up. When I would go around there, they would tell me, be quiet, don't do anything. I was very, very alone. I would have to sleep over at my friend's house, feeling like an absolute burden. It got really, really bad. One day, I sat at my computer playing some games. My mum was pissed. She came in, she went, let's go swimming, Seanetta. We're going swimming. I went, what? No, fuck this. I ran away to one of her friend's house. and I called my dad. I remember a couple of weeks before, I'd been praying to be with my dad. And so I called him, I said, look, I've had enough, can I come over? He said yes. So I packed all of my dollies in my suitcase, and a couple of days later I was off, and I arrived in America. Now I got there, and it was lovely at first. America's so big and sunny. It was lovely, it really was. And yeah, I had a very hard time accepting my stepmother. I've always had that for some reason. And it wasn't quite what I expected. Because of my dad's struggle to show love and support, he did love me, but he wasn't very good at showing those emotions. And he changed. He changes with every woman, strangely. So, yeah, I'm not sure why. So, as his hoochie mum was very loose and, you know, do what you want, this woman was very strict. You know, it was her way or the highway. And I had my own mind by then, as I was doing what I wanted on my own, and I did not listen, you know? So, we had a lot of arguments for a lot of years. I spent a lot of time in my bedroom. And I just learned to become my own friend and be there for myself, really. It got very bad, you know. I started rebelling, I started smoking again, just being a naughty girl. I started lying for some reason. I became a compulsive liar. Very strange. And I used to run away. My dad used to drag me back. I used to write horrible notes for my stepmom just because I knew she would go in my room and find them. And then I'd get choked for it. So yeah, and then one day, you know, I'd been speaking to my mum. She said she was all better. So my dad arranged for me to go on a holiday to England to see her for 2 weeks. So I went on holiday, and I liked it. She'd lost her house, become bankrupt, and she had to move to a town. So I came to this town, and it was beautiful, it was lovely, it was sunny, and I loved it. My mum was better, and she showed me a lot more love than my father. So I was like, you know what, I think I'm gonna stay. And so I called my dad, I told him what I wanted to do. It didn't go down very well at all. I didn't speak to him for 6 months after that. So we applied for school. I got into Margaret Thatcher School. The top 25% of girls in the UK go to this school. It's a very good school. So I was very proud of that. So I got in there, I went in there, and it was okay, it was good. And then one day I was at home and my mum went out and she didn't come back for hours. And I called the police because, you know, I was 12 years old at this point on my own. And she came back, well, the police brought her back. And she mentioned something about fairies. So she was quite drunk. At this point I realised this might have been a bad idea, but I was stuck. I'd made my decision and I had to follow through with it. So I spent as much time out the house as I could. I started hanging around with 16-year-olds when I was 12. So as you can imagine, smoking started again. Drinking started again. House parties started. They were great. I loved it. I was too young, but I loved it. Now I started shoplifting. I'm not sure why. I got a bit of a naughty addiction for it. Until eventually when I was 14 I got caught and I stopped it. For now. So when I was 14, I was at school. I never really fitted in any way. I always did what I wanted. At first when people found out I was smoking when I was 12, everyone was really like, whoa, you know, who is this girl? They were all very lovely ladies from very perfect homes. And so I didn't quite fit in. I was always left out a little bit. But I had a group of 4 friends. Now when I was 14, I kissed one of my friend's boyfriends. And she wasn't happy about that. Well, okay, so at first I told her on Facebook. Yeah. Yes, I know. And at first she said, oh, okay, you know, I'm okay with that. I was honest. I had to tell her. And then about 10 minutes later, she messaged me. She said, you know what? Actually, it's not okay. And what she'd been doing was talking to these 3 other girls. And they planned to gang up on me. And they did a bloody good job. On Facebook, of course. So I was called fat. They said I had a pathetic excuse for a family. I was called a slut, the usual. And in turn, I got extreme anxiety. My palms were sweating for no reason. I had no idea why. I wouldn't leave my house for 3 months. I ate a big bag of Doritos every day. Thoroughly enjoyed it. But I was also very depressed. And I was 14, I had no idea what was going on, no idea what to do. So I decided, fuck this, I've had enough, I'm going to stand up for myself. So I went out, I found one of the girls and I hit her. And I told them, 1 down, 4 to go. I'm coming after you. I'm not having this. And until I got arrested for that, which I did admit to, I'm an honest person, but I also got kicked out of school. And I lost my GCSEs, I lost my 6th form. I could have had a great life there, but you know what? I'm really glad I left. It wasn't me, at all. So, I got kicked out of college 3 times. And then I got kicked out of my mum's house. And I became addicted to drugs. To fund that, I became a professional shoplifter. A very bad drug dealer. And I was just awful. I was a really nasty person. I was committing suicide, well, trying to anyway. If I didn't, I wouldn't be here. But I was trying to commit suicide once every 2 weeks. But my point is, here I am now. I've stood on my own 2 feet. I'm 21 years old. I've been living in my own house since I was 18. I'm independent, I support myself, I have a good job. I have completed a couple years of college so far. And I'm a great person. I'm honest, I'm loyal, I'm true to myself, and I'm kind. And it could have gone the other way completely for me. I almost died from drugs. And here I am today, stood here with some amazing people, speaking in front of you. I'm so grateful for everything. So I just want to say thank you.